Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. Life could be a little bit miserable, life could be a little bit dark, so we're here to bring you a little bit of joy and a little bit of light in these dark winter months. I'm Bradley, joined again by the absolutely wonderful rock to my hard place, I don't know, Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Well, I'm just going to be thinking about your hard place now for a while.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That was almost a nice smooth intro for once, but then I just went, I don't know what I'm saying.
Sexual.
Yeah.
But no,
Do you know what? It wasn't even sexual. I was, literally between a rock and a hard place.
Unintended consequence. Yeah.
But then I realised there's no one between us, so that doesn't work as a thing. And then, but I just went with it because I've run out of ideas.
I like it. Yeah. No, I'm pretty good. I've as we were saying before we started recording, like we've both had COVID and we're both a bit frustrated, pissed off about how normalised it's become, really, because it's like, you can like, okay, there's capitalism and we kind of, we have to be part of the system even though we don't want to be, and we're both part of a system where jobs and life expects you to carry on when you've got a cold, right? And everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, all right, come to an understanding that it's called a cold. It sounds like nothing. It sounds like you should be putting a jumper on. But actually, colds can be quite nasty, quite rubbish.
Yeah.
But you're still expected to work. And we're like, oh, all right, well, we'll sacrifice ourselves to the corporate gods around that one. But now you're supposed to do it around COVID as well. And I'm really rapidly... luckily, I'm off because I'm starting my new job next week. So I've got a week of holiday. Not nice to have most of my holiday kind of wiped out by feeling ill, but at least But you are expected to carry on working, and it'll have hit you and hit your family the same as hit mine. And I don't even care that much about me. It's my wife who's really suffered, because that's linking into something else, which I won't get into fully. But there's a big thing around the office. My wife is being treated really, really poorly at work, and it's terrible for her mental health, but it's part of a system. And God, that system is everywhere.
Future Stu here, just quickly to say I went off on a little bit of an angry tirade that didn't make a great deal of sense and was too personal, so I've cut it. But I wanted to preserve how Brad responded intelligently and calmly about fascism and about what we were talking about, trans rights. So I've left that in. So if there's a little bit of a jump that doesn't make sense, apologies. Essentially what I was talking about was how rights are being eroded and the expectation of work under a right-wing capitalist system that we're living in at the moment is forcing us into a terrible place. So let's continue, see what you think.
So honestly, it's made me so angry I can barely speak about it.
No, I know what you mean. It's basically, if it doesn't suit the certain subset of the population, then don't exist. If you're not going to get into work, then you better well die, essentially.
Yes.
Or not exist at all. Yeah, no, totally get it. It's like the recent, I don't know if it was a budget or a winter statement or whatever it was, but the way now they're getting rid, or they're going to cut free prescriptions for those on benefits. They are increasing universal credit, but I think it's a real world loss still. They're really trying to force people into work, even those that really can't work. And if you cannot get a job, or that they decide you're not showing that you're trying to get a job, they will just stop your benefits after 6 months completely.
Yeah.
That's it. Just close your case. You're done. Now, what's the betting? If they do go ahead with this in 18 months, let's say 18 months, there's complaints about the amount of homeless people on the streets.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there might be a correlation anywhere, or whether it's just, it's just the life we all choose.
I think this kind of highlights the importance of like anti-fascist education, right? And why Germany did it so well, post-war. They're like, we can't ever let this happen again. We've got to bring it into the curriculum. We've got to bring it into normalise public discourse. We've got to let our children learn. Because what I read years ago, the playbook of how you create a fascist structure, how you maintain that fascist structure. And it's really simple. It's basically, it's create the other. It's like make an other group. And the way that you do that is that, obviously you pick on them. Then you start bringing in, the key is bringing in legislation that excludes them. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to unhome people, because you make homelessness. My brain really isn't working. Homelessness, you make it as criminal as you can. That's part one, but part two is also meaning no access to anything. So no access to a bank account, no access to benefits. And then, of course, once you can't access those, you become, homeless, you live on the street, your mental health drops, you don't have any money, you can't keep any money or retain it. It's all a system. It's a systemized way of just slotting people into a group that can then be effectively exterminated, either by a passive means or by an active means. It's normally passive because fascist dictatorships are inherently cowardly. And it's like you learn this, like you should do, in school, but I learned it anyway as a fucking 45-year-old adult at the time, whatever. And you're just kind of gobsmacked by it, and because you start seeing it happen. And it's like, once you know that's what they do, you see it everywhere. And it's not that it's the paranoia thing of once you understand something, you start seeing it everywhere. It's literally that's what they're doing. And it's just unbelievable that we're so far right in this country now. It just boggles the mind. It really does.
Yeah, no, I can't get my head around it. It's just, crazy. And I don't see it getting better. The only other option we've got is Tory Light.
I know. Yeah.
Which, great, wonderful. I can't even think of anything pithy to say. Me, I like to kind of get through all these difficult times with something pithy or try and be funny. I'm not a comedian. I'm not funny. But I try and say something light-hearted as a I'm like the podcast shitty version of John Oliver. But I don't quite do it as well.
Oh.
Yeah, it's why we have escapes, Stu. It's why we need to have escapes. Very quickly before we do transition to video games. Sorry, Conservatives, that's you switching off because we said transition. I'm going to talk a little bit of TV quickly, very, very quickly. Have you seen the TV programme Manifest?
No, I've not.
Right, give it a watch, right? It's really, really good. It's one of those event happens type thing, like people go missing and then they all return type thing. So there's a plane that goes missing for 5 years and then it just mysteriously returns. It's directed or written or produced by Robert Zemeckis, of obviously but people who don't know, Back to the Future fame.
Yep.
And other stuff, but who cares? It's Back to the Future. Anyway. Did he do the Frighteners? No, that was Peter Jackson, weren't it? Who done the Frighteners?
It was.
But anyway, it's basically, a bunch of people go missing on an airplane, they come back, and then they start having these things called call-ins, which tell them, like, oh, stuff's going on, and you can save it, and it starts off, and it's fairly grounded, like, it's fantastical, but it's fairly grounded in reality, and it got to, like, 3 seasons, and it was still just about going, like, showing maybe some religious-y type things going on with God and the afterlife, and miracles and things like that, but it was still fairly grounded. And then it got cancelled in season 3, but they got renewed for one final season. But I think Warner Brothers saved it for one final season. Now, I fully respect, right? This was clearly going to be going for, they was hoping maybe 6-7 seasons or something like that. They was going to build up to the big ending. But obviously they've had to condense it into one last season. I fully respect that if you're going to go from grounded to batshit crazy, go all in. Don't half-arse it. And Robert Zemeckis and whoever's behind it, everyone else behind it, just went, do you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. Let's go all in. Let's just make this as crazy and as mental as possible. And it's not good, the end of it, where I'm at the moment. We've got about 6 episodes left. It's not good, but it's so insane with what the direction they're going in that I'm like, I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. You've given yourself one last season to finish this thing. You've got about 180 threads you've got to get through, and you've just gone, screw it. And I'm all in for it. There's bad acting in places. There's literally a scene, right, where there's stuff going on, and there's basically a child's been kidnapped by someone else, and the father trying to get him back, and then the person who kidnapped him has kind of Munchausen syndromed, no, Stockholm syndrome, sorry, wrong one. The child into loving them as their mother and stuff like that, and it's got the thing, right? And they're both there with the child, and like they do the thing, and it's the sort of thing you see in a cheesy Hallmark Christmas movie or something like that, where they need to decide who the dog's gonna live with. And you know where you kind of get the people inside going, come on boy, you want to live with me? Come on boy. Right, so they both decide, okay, we're going to let the girl decide, like this like 4-year-old girl, whatever she is. We're going to let the girl decide who she wants to live with. And I said to Lo, we're watching it going, oh God, they're going to do the puppy dog thing, aren't they? Jokingly. And they did.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Telly at the moment. It's I think, you know, they kind of the way they're desperately rushing to create as much content as they can to fill these streaming things, and they just end up totally bananas. Oh, they can do, because especially as they never think, okay, so we want 6 seasons, so we're going to plot out 6 seasons, but they don't go, we'll tell you what, we'll make sure we've got a backup of this is how we can wrap it up nicely in 1 season or 3 seasons. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they always surprise when they get cancelled. It's like, you really thought that you'd be so big and so good that you'd last 6 seasons. It's like,
yeah, you've got to be fair. So this is the gist I got. It starts off and it feels like it could have been wrapped up in 1 season. It built towards a 1 season or 2 season wrap up, and obviously it got extended. So I think then they decided to sort of really go for it and like expand, and then at the end of deciding, okay, going to expand through this 3rd season is when it then got cancelled. But yeah, I could just imagine the writers' room going, right, we've been given 1 more season by Warner Brothers, we've got this, what are we going to do? And just all between them, they just went, well, I tell you what, let's go get a bunch of crack, let's get some LSD, and fuck it, let's see what we come up with, because that's what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much my rule for life. If you could do whatever you want, as long as it's not bad, there you go. Do what you want, just don't do bad things, like humanly bad things. Bad movie, fine. You know what? Bad movies are fine, even if it is just like a money grab. It's fine. Just don't do bad things.
The last thing I'll say on it, on Manifest, it was called Manifest, yeah.
Yes, it was, yes.
on Manifest and his ilk, because there was that. You see, I'm not going to remember the names of very many of them, but there was Lost, obviously.
Yeah.
There was...
The 100.
Yeah, there was that one. I don't think I ever watched that one, but that was that one with not Rafe Fiennes, the other Fiennes, the Shakespearean Love Fiennes.
Joseph.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. There was that one where half the population disappeared. And
Flashback.
Oh, is that what?
Flashforward. Flashforward?
Yeah.
Flash something or other, yeah.
Yeah, there was that. There's loads of these things where they've gone, oh, I'll tell you what, one of the best premises is, and then they describe the premise, and it's like,
and then they go, oh,
that's great.
And, but the opening bit where it's actually good is done now. What do we do?
Exactly. Where the hell do you go with it? And there's not many places.
And also for future people who want to make TV series or films or anything, one and done is fine. Absolutely fine.
Exactly.
One and done is fine. You don't need to turn everything into a long-running series or multiverse or whatever. One and done is fine. Anyway, talking of one and done, Stu, video games.
Yeah, that's true. Most of them are. 99% of them are.
I'm going to segue into what is clearly not a one and done series, because we both played it. Persona 5 Tactica.
Yes.
Because there's been God knows how many Persona games and spin-offs and everything. So, yeah, clearly our one-and-done theory is not working with Persona. But, hey, who cares? Persona is great.
Well, it depends whether you're talking about the IP or whether you're talking about you playing it. Like, 99% of the games are one and done for me, like, playing them. But clearly the people who make them, no. They'll do as many sequels as they can get away with.
Yes, sequels and spin-offs and, lots. So So, what are your thoughts? Because I've got thoughts on Persona 5 Tactica. You know me, I'm a big Persona fan, Stu. I actually like the writing. I think, on the whole, the writing overall in the games, I think actually nails teenagers quite well. And for all their foibles that go with it, whether they're controversial writing or not, I think it does it really well. And I think it's actually a very underrated series by the wider community. I know you don't mind the games, or you've played the games. You're probably not as into them as I am. But we both played Persona 5 Tactica. What's your thoughts so far?
Well, like you, I really respect them. Like, I really respect the franchise. I still have kind of questions about. We talked about it when we were talking about Persona 5 Royal, in that some of the characters, female characters, of course, are sexualized. I think that they often get away with doing it in a way that it isn't fully kind of male gaze, but I'm obviously not the right person to speak about that. I think one of the good ways to tell whether, for Tactica, that's not as big a plan, so a bigger point. So most of it,
chibi-ness of it.
I was just going to say that word. Yeah, it's a chibi game. So they used to call it Super Deformed back in the 1800s when I started playing video games.
Nintendo was still around then.
yeah, they were just starting up their Hanafuda printed card
true facts
business
as well. There you go.
Yeah.
We speak true facts.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo were a company back then.
Anyway,
carry on.
And yeah, so way back then, called Super Deformed, now called Chibi, meaning like cute, I think, isn't it? And
yeah, it's because when you know that there's bound to be some kind of dodgy hentai version of this, regardless. Then you kind of go, oh, Japan.
I know, and it is frustrating, especially as there are some really, really well depicted female characters who are sexy without being sexualized.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I find them sexy, because I don't, but I can recognize that they're done in a way that's kind of, charismatic and fun, and kind of like, if you were in that world and you were one of those characters, you'd want to kiss one of those characters. That kind of thing.
With their permission, of course.
With their permission. And the boys, the males in it, the ones who are objectively, kind of classically male, excellently done, not over-sexualized. It's very difficult to over-sexualize men in a patriarchal society anyway, but they're, sexy, charismatic, good-looking. But, so they're the way it should be. That, classic stylish, you want to be them rather than want to be with them kind of thing, you know what I mean? They do it all really well. But anyway, it sidesteps some of that by it being chibi. It was basically what I was saying. And it's the gameplay of what I've played of it so far, which is not a ton, is good. I like it. It's more free flowing in the tactic thing than normal, which is great. It's got all the classics. It's got hold down a button to see how far you can move. Hover over an enemy to see what their abilities are. You have built-in persona abilities, which comes over from the game. Is a bit different from most tactical stuff. And there's an upgrade path, which is not present in a lot of tactical stuff as well, which is also good. But my only gameplay problem with it is, again, the amount of text, the amount of dialogue.
And it's a Persona game.
Yes, but this is, again, an accessibility. It crosses over. It's both an accessibility issue, and it is also a storytelling issue. Now, a storyteller, you pick your medium, and then your message has to fit the medium. It has to be done in a way that works for that medium. And if you're, say, creating a... God, I tell you, COVID has literally ripped my brain into pieces. What are the games... Like, visual novel, right?
Yeah.
If you buy a game that's a visual novel, it tells you the genre is a visual novel. You know what you're playing, right? If you play an RPG, you know there's going to be dialogue, there's going to be conversation, but it's not necessarily a novel. It's not reading things that kind of build the lore as much as playing the game builds the lore. The conversation in an RPG is supposed to be about character. The lore of the universe, of the way that the game's built, is in the gameplay and in the visuals. Whereas a visual novel, it's not. The visuals are there as a kind of spice. They're there as a way to visually navigate you through that world whilst you're reading like a novel. This tries to do both. And it always, well, I say always has. It's done it for this and it's done it for Royal. And it doesn't work. Now, that's not a personal thing. That's a genuinely, take this to anyone who does any kind of criticism, like literary criticism, film criticism, anything. And they'll go, no, this doesn't work. And the reason is because it does both but like I say, it tries to do both world building and character building and conversational dialogue and cutscenes all as a novel at the same time as when you're playing a video game, and it's too much. To where I'm up to, I understand what's going on from visual cues mostly, but I'm missing nuance. But I'm unwilling to read all of that text. It's a wall of text. And even when you get dialogue choices of saying one thing or another, or one from three, they don't make any difference. It's just a breakup point for it to pause so that you can tap A.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is the most pointless thing in existence. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be enjoyable for some people, or that it's badly written, or any of these things. It means they've picked the wrong medium for it. And if you're going to do that, what you should do is, this is where the accessibility comes in, have something that allows you to skip it completely. Completely. And have a paragraph accessible at any time, like a journal, that explains where you are in the game. But in the meantime, you've had 50 minutes of playing a video game. This doesn't do any of that. And the audience for it must be so narrow, because they've made a terrible mistake with that. I can come out and say it. The actual bones of the game are fantastic. They're really good. I enjoy it as a tactics game. But everything around it and the unskippable nature and the terrible choices of how to insert that conversation and dialogue into the game is a terrible mistake from my perspective.
So, counterpoint.
Go on.
No, I get it. I totally get it. Now, the reason it works so well in mainline Persona games is that it's been built on that structure from day one. The visual novel and the dungeon crawling intertwine perfectly. The balance in those games is spot on, in my opinion. And I've always found with the spin-offs, it's a bit take it or leave it. And I tend to go with the leave it side of the dialogue and the story. I just get to the main gameplay side. Now, what I think hits a lot of people, this happened with Persona 5 Strikers, which is a Musou game. Now, if you've ever played a Musou game before, you have a couple of moments of story, maybe, and then you go in and you hammer one or two buttons and kill millions of enemies on the screen. And that's what happens. So most people went into, say, like Persona 5 Strikers thinking, right, okay, Musou game with Persona characters, I'm all in. I went into it thinking that. Whereas what you've actually got is a Persona-asked Persona game, but instead of turn-based tactics, you've got Musou. And I think that took a lot of people by surprise. I really enjoyed it because I thought the story in that was still really well done. It was a great 1.5 almost sequel to the original Persona 5 game. Now, with Persona 5 Tactica, I'm okay. They've gone with the same idea, which is it's a Persona-asked game with a more this tactics strategy-based gameplay. The problem I've got with this one is I don't like the story compared to other Persona games. Even like the Persona dancing games had a decent enough story with them. But this one, I'm finding myself not caring about the story. And like you, I think I'd be happy with a skip. And it needs some kind of proper skip feature to it. I've played it and I've literally gone, right, okay, it's going to start, put it on auto to skip so it goes through all the dialogue, and I'll just keep an eye on it while on Steam Deck sat in its dock. And then I'll press a button when it's needed until I get to the actual gameplay. And it's a shame because the fact that it's lacking in the writing side of it for me means it's not a good Persona game at all. The gameplay set is really good, and I think it's a really, really good game in the gameplay mechanics, but it's not the best Persona game. It's a bang average Persona game.
Yeah.
We've spoken about this before with stuff like the certain Splinter Cell games and things like that, where they're good games, just not good Splinter Cell games, or not a good Hitman game. In their own right, just make, if it was a different medium, if this was Atlas introducing a new IP, I think it would have worked really, really well. But yeah, this isn't what I want from like Joker and the crew. It's just doesn't work for me so far. Now, that's not to say I've played Persona games before where I've got to about 20-30 hours in, and then all of a sudden it's gone, the penny's dropped for me. But I don't know if this is going to be the case with this one, which is a shame. As I said, the tactical side of it, this almost needs to be Mario versus Rabbids style, where it's a bit more free-flowing, and then you do the tactical turn-based battles. I think that would have worked really, really well in this case, and minimised the story. But it's too much of a not great story to keep me engaged, which is a shame. I will play it and I will finish it because I love Persona games. And the gameplay loop is enough that I'm eager to get to it. But yeah, it drags. And it drags and it drags, and it turns it from being, I think, a must-play game to one where I think you really, really, really got to be into Persona lore spin-offs, which is a weird niche market to aim it at.
Yes, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think so. There's so many good TRPGs that have been released just in the last couple of years, right? There's some really, really good ones, and some that are only okay, or just scraping into the sort of good tier rather than mediocre. All of which are cheaper, better. You're talking about a crowded market. So, like, when I started playing games, I would play something that had good ideas, but was mostly a bang average or made lots of mistakes just because that was new.
Yeah.
It was a new idea and it did that part of it really well. But when you've got, like, I'm just looking on Google, right, a new Fire Emblem. In the last couple of years, we've had a new Fire Emblem TRPG. We've had Triangle Strategy. We've had Marvel's Midnight Suns. We've got Tactics Ogre Reborn. We've got Lost Eidolons. We've got Hard West 2. We've got Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga. We've got, there's just dozens of them, and most of them are probably £2 on Steam in the sale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what's your value proposition? It doesn't all come down to money, but money has to be a part of it. And there's one thing, right? And the other thing is, it doesn't respect your time, and time is money. So people even like school kids don't have time to just blow on, things that could, if you read every little piece of dialogue, would last you years. That's why they play Fortnite. And, you have to respect people's time. And what's great about, the best thing about the Persona series is they look beautiful, and they're this fantastic mashup of, like, style, beautiful clothing, beautifully designed clothes and masks and all of this stuff, which makes such a big difference in fiction. It really does. And, good characters and this amazing blend of, like, manga and anime, Japanese storytelling. And it just kind of, like, it's a visual, it's just mushing together all these brilliant Japanese media in such a good way that hasn't been done with that level of skill, to my knowledge before. In a way, it's completely unique, and you'll put up with a lot so that you can see that and interact with it. And you'll do it with Persona 5 Royal, although I fell off it in the end. But for this, I think the thing that they could have done very, very easily to turn it all around is not insult the player's intelligence and have that dialogue and those conversations running whilst you were in combat. Have it running in the top of the screen. Have those conversations popping out whilst you're playing the game. You could have done all of that. You really did not need to break it apart into two separate systems. It insults your intelligence. The writing is really not that sophisticated. You could absorb that running in the background whilst you were choosing to go behind a box, fire a gun at a person, then cast a persona on somebody. It could run in tandem, and then you would have a game half the length of at least double the quality.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'd be, I say, for me, with this one for sure, I'd have been happier if it was a bunch of anime clips put together in between the gameplay. For where I am, Persona 5, Persona 4, 3, and sort of like the original Sin and everything prior to that, it's the choices felt like they had a bearing. They don't here. So, do you know what? Turn it into a mini anime with gameplay in it. That would have been absolutely fine. But as it is, it hasn't. And it's it's a good game, average Persona game. It's one of those ones where I can't say don't touch it, and I can't say go all in. It's basically on your head be it. It's like the only way I can say about it, whether to recommend it or not. It's just on your head be it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and that could be bad. It could be good. I just don't know. I'm enjoying it, and I will see it through. I don't think you will,
no
quite
chance.
clearly. But hey, that's what makes the world go round.
It does. It does. Yes. Yeah. I agree with you. I think it's one for die-hard Persona fans only. To be honest, if you're itching for a modern or an older tactical RPG, Google it. Have a look at all the ones that are available. Look at the best ones, and then pick the cheapest one from it. That's the best, and you'll be paying a couple of quid for an amazing game. If you fit, go for that instead.
Agreed. Right, moving on. Very quick one from me.
Yes.
Now it's not often you find me not really having much to say about a game or being a little bit stumped by a game. So I might come back to this game in a few weeks and cover it again. But basically, I've been playing Dungeons 4. Now, I knew there was a Dungeons 3. Didn't know there was a Dungeons of a Dungeons 2. Hands up with that. And I thought, I've never played Dungeons 3. It was one of those I looked at and went, maybe one day. So anyway, Dungeons 4's come out from Calypso Media. And I thought, do you know what? I'll give this one a go. Let's have a little look. It's a real-time strategy, simulation, city builder type game. So it ticks a couple of Brad Bingo bits off there. And yeah, I don't know. I've been playing it, and I can't quite get into it. And I don't know why. So you build dungeons as part of it, and as part of the city builder thing, and you've got it's got this whole city builder thing going on, which is absolutely fine. And then you've got to set up almost defenses and everything, and then it's got this real time strategy a battle thing going on, and it kind of all works together. It kind of introduces it well, and I get what it's trying to do, and where you attack and where you defend and why you need to build up in certain ways. And there's just so much going on, and I feel that this isn't a game aimed at newcomers at all. I feel maybe I should have played Dungeons 1 to 3 at least a little bit before going into this. And I'm just, I don't know, Stu. I don't know at all. Help me, Stu. You don't even know what this game is, I'd imagine.
No.
But yeah, there's minions like you send them out and they do your bidding, or they come and attack and you give orders, or that you got to deal with them. And there's multi levels to the story that's going on. It's very big on that. It feels like it's going to be an epic story to it, but I'm not far enough into it yet to sort of really sort of understand where the story's going. It could just end in a couple of minutes, but it just feels like it's going to be a long time. And everything you do kind of affects the world you're in, and it feels like there's a deeper lore that I'm missing here. It's got co-op. I've not tried co-op, trust me on that one. I'm barely get my head around it myself at the moment, what I'm meant to be doing. But yeah, I just don't know. But I'm also drawn to it. I'm kind of like, yeah, this is. I don't know. I don't get it, but I'm enjoying it, and I just can't find the right words to even describe what this is. Like I said, it's part city builder, part real-time strategy, but it's not like anything I've ever really played before, but it also doesn't feel new and groundbreaking. And with my brain, my ADHD riddled autistic brain, I'm like, I was like, I don't know whether to talk about this or not, because I don't know what to think of it. So yeah, if you played Dungeons 1 to 3, you like them, yeah. If you haven't, maybe start with something previous. I don't know. I'm really sorry, Calypso, and who was the developers? Sorry, Realmforge Studios. I'm really sorry. I think I might have been the wrong market for this one. It's quality though. So what I will say, what I can comment on, really good UI. I played it on the Steam Deck, and it's fine. On the Steam Deck, it's got full controller support. The UI could do with a bit of improvement, I suppose. But yeah, it works really well. Controls are really good. You know, I've not sort of like been fighting it, so that's all a good sign. Visually, it looks very pretty. I really like that. Character design is really, really good. And the gameplay, like the individual gameplay parts, like the building parts are fine, the battle parts are fine. I just can't get my head around how it all works together properly. And I think that's a me problem, not a game problem. It is, you know, Calypso, obviously you'll know them from Tropico fame and other things like that. Quality is never an issue, and this is a very quality feeling, playing, looking game. I just haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Is it okay for a critic to say that?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
I don't know.
It is. Yeah, no, definitely. I find it frustrating when critics sort of pretend that they know everything, and that normally manifests in them being critical of something. Yeah, that's human nature often, isn't it? Sadly, if you don't understand something, you criticise it. But no, it sounds intriguing that if you're into that sort of thing, it sounds like it's mashing together a few gameplay styles, and it might be a little slippery, a bit hard to get a grip on, but that it sounds like it's worthwhile if you're into that sort of stuff. So yeah,
and I am going to continue dipping in, and I think like if it clicks for me, I will report back. It's a busy time of the year, so you know, I don't know why I'm talking directly to the developers or the PR teams, but it'll be sometime next year, I'd imagine, because I've got so much to get through at the moment. But yeah, you've made a really good game. I feel like I'm like critiquing a child now, going, it's a really, really good painting, but it's not going to replace Biddy's painting on the fridge, okay? Not yet.
Yeah.
If
it makes you feel better, it seems to be doing really well on Steam.
Yes, that's why I know it's a me problem. I did afterwards, and I think I've said before, I always play a game, take down my own faults, and then see if I'm with everyone or against everyone. And this one, I kind of done it and went, I don't know. What are people saying? And generally, it seems a lot of people really, really like the hell out of it. So clearly, it's got a backing, it's got a following. So if you've liked any of the others, or you really get the City Builder RTS mashup fully, give it a go. If you're like me, maybe it's not the game for you. And as we said, with Persona, it's what makes the world go round.
Yes, absolutely. And I like it when they chuck in some different styles and try and innovate, even if it doesn't come off. Yeah. But it just sounds like it has for most people, so we should probably shut up about it.
And I'll report back next year.
Sounds good.
We just remind, before we move on, right? It's refreshing, right? I know I don't want to blow my own trumpet, because if I could do that, I'd be quite well off now. Anyway, I'll be working on a club in Ibiza or something.
Yep.
Anyway, that's really weird. But critics, commentators, when they just go, I don't know, I love that. So Liverpool Women have got a former player called Natasha Dowie, and she was doing co-commentary for Liverpool TV for one of the women's games. And she's talking about one of our new players, Marie Hobinger, who's come in and done really, really well. And it's the most refreshing thing I ever heard. She's doing the co-commentary, and she turns around and she goes, "Yeah, Marie's, she played really well this year. She come in." She went, "I didn't have a clue who she was before she came to Liverpool." And do you know what? I just listened to that and just went, "Yes, more of that, please." Rather than your Jermaine Genuses or your Gabby Agmon-Lahores pretending to know everything about the guy who came from 3rd Division San Marino League or something like that.
Yeah.
More of that refreshing honesty, please.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think that's also a very kind of the patriarchy, as I continue to shout about. It's like men feeling they have to always know everything and compete with one another.
And in politics, we don't know what to do quite yet, but we'll get together and work it out. Not, well, we know what we're doing with this particular. We'll work it out. We don't know. It's fine to not know something.
It is. To educate yourself and admit that you need that education. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, moving on. Something we do know all about, Stu. I'm segueing in the middle of a show. Look at that.
Look at that.
A bit of Space Harrier, Stu. Of salt. What have you been playing?
I was really hoping you were going to go into it because the name of it has escaped me yet again because it's so.
You've been playing AirTwister, Stu.
That's what I've been playing.
By Yu Suzuki.
Supposedly. Oh my god. This game, man. Okay, I went in a little bit on Tactica, but it's not a bad game, right?
It's a good game, just not your game, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. It presents itself in ways that they're mistaken and they could be better, and there's a better game buried in there, but the core of it's fine. There's not often that I play a game that is genuinely absolute gack. And this game is completely gack. And I would say, you see, it has some merit. One, because it actually turns on, if it passes the test of actually being able to boot. And also because it steals...
It's his own, you can't steal your own stuff.
Considering, this is the person who made, Space Harrier, obviously, Outrun, Super Hang-On, dozens of other incredible games. It's pathetic is the best word I can describe it with. So it takes everything that Space Harrier had and throws out all of that, right? So you basically, it's a rail shooter. You go into the screen. Similar to Space Harrier, you carry a weapon rocket under your arm and shoot stuff in a fantasy land. That's pretty much, other than the basics, that's pretty much all you're getting, other than a completely bizarre pop opera soundtrack that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard, which is probably the best thing about the game. Sounds like a bizarre mashup of like Queen and ELO. You really will have to listen to it to get any kind of understanding. It's just bizarre. But yeah, it's got nothing. It fails to be Space Harrier or a sequel to Space Harrier in any way. It's so limited, it's so dumb, it's so dull that literally it passes the barrier of being able to boot, and that you can say, I have played a video game, and that is literally...
It's a playable video game out of 10.
Yes, which would, for me, other than I'd give it a point for it bringing back some of the characters from Space Harrier because they're pretty, and I give it I'll give it half a point for being able to move, boot and close without crashing. So I'll give it 1.5.
So it's better than most Ubisoft titles.
Yeah. So 1.5 out of 10. It's the worst game I've played in years. 5, 10, maybe even 10 years. It's awful on every level.
Yeah. Right, so this is where I fall on this, because I got this to review. I think you paid actual monthly dues for it. And I picked this up because it was offered to me. It came through from the PR team, and it was like, oh, Yu Suzuki, Yu Space Harrier. Yeah, let's go. What could be bad? And my first thoughts were, look, I love Panzer Dragoon, but there's no doubting that's aged very brownly.
Brownly.
It's a very bland-looking game. Yeah, it's a very bland-looking game by today's standards. So, do you know what? If you can make a Panzer Dragoon Space Harrier-style game, but make it prettier, good. You know, you're some way there. It's very bland-looking. There's, like, no contrast between your main character, the enemies, and the environment. Hardly. It's just kind of like a blur. It's just I don't know. It's like gruel in a bowl, but on screen, and you get look. There's some flashes of colour, but I don't know if that's an enemy or what. Your reticles and your things that tell you what you're aiming at, they don't stick out. So there's not like, do you know the remake of not Airwolf? What was the one, the Top Gunny style one called? My mind's gone blank.
Afterburner.
Afterburner, yeah. You know, that was everywhere, and there was loads of bright colours, and the reticles went beep, 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 beep on everything, and then you shot everything. There's none of that here. It's just like, and that's kind of like the whole thing. The whole game is like, and it's just kind of like how I felt playing the game. You're flying through the air, but it just feels like, it's like someone's been forced to like reanimate the snowman every year for the past 40 years, but make the same thing, and they've just gone, we'll just take the colour out of it a bit more. Let's just, and we'll just get rid of some of the music that makes it iconic, and the animations, I will just blend it up a bit. And they've just lost all hope with remaking the snowman for 40 years. This is what this game feels like. The UI is awful. The choice of fonts used is awful. The menus are awful. The options menus are awful. The character design is poor. They're not memorable to me. Because you turned around and said they're returning characters from Space Harrier in there. My first thought was, is there? You sure?
Yeah.
Are you really sure about that, Stu?
Yeah, there are, but they're rendered in such a boring way that, like you say, it just becomes gruel. And I know that it was a mobile game, and it really, really stands out. But mobile doesn't necessarily have to mean shit. But no, in this case, it really is. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Angry Birds is a mobile game, and you know what? It never translated to consoles. You can't charge like full price for Angry Birds, which they try to. Anyway, that's going down a different kettle of fish. With it, going down a different kettle of fish. That's mixing your thingies up, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, it's yeah. So, but it was a good game. Angry Birds was. Mechanically, it was sound, and visually, it had a style. It's fine. Flappy Bird was mechanically sound. It was a god-awful thing that I didn't like, but it was mechanically sound. This just is just... Ugh. I tried playing it like Space Harrier. It didn't play like... I remember Space Harrier. Definitely doesn't play like Afterburner or Panzer Dragoon. And even these days, you've got Res, which still holds up and is beautiful and shows what you can do with this job. But it's just... It's not even vanilla stew. Vanilla stew. Ooh.
Good flavour. Well, exactly. I mean, we've probably wasted way too much breath on this game anyway. Because it's so bad. But
don't buy it. It's 20 quid, Stu.
I don't know. It's 20 quid. It's insane.
I was going to pick up that 45 quid for Dungeons 4 might have been a bit pricey for some, but that's a quality video game. I might not get it, but it's a quality video. This is 20 quid. Honestly, give me 20 quid and I'll kick you in the face and you'll get a better experience. It's awful.
Pretty much.
This is worse. This is worse than that stupid bloody NASCAR game I played.
I know. The worst thing I think is that you could rip off a game from 20 years ago, so like 90% of the audience wouldn't remember it, and you could rip it off completely and just reskin it, and you'd have a game that is like 100 times better. So what's the point of doing this? It's a waste of time, effort, money, talent, everything. It's a waste of everything. Waste of everybody's time.
And I get people look at a game like Thirsty Suitors, and I saw a couple of hot takes say Thirsty Suitors looks utter crap, right? Because it's like very sexualized, and it's very horny, shall we say. It's a very horny game.
It's a thirsty
and I
game.
get people looking at that and going, it looks a bit shit. I get that. But it's a good video game. They've caught the core of the game. Good. You might not like the subject matter, but it's good. This is Yu Suzuki, Stu. This is Yu Suzuki. What? I mean, are they Weekend at Bernie, Yu Suzuki, just using his name? Anyway, you can get AirTwister for 20 quid on Steam. Get it. No, don't. I might never get anything from these publishers or that PR firm again. Just don't. This is my Sonic 4 moment. Don't touch this. It's got a positive rating.
I really don't understand that.
How many of Yu Suzuki's mates have played this? It's 16 ratings and they're positive. Is this like literally all Yu Suzuki's team?
Pretty much, I would guess. I think it has to be.
Another arcade favourite from Yu Suzuki. If you like games like Panzer Dragoon or Space Harrier, then buying this game is an easy decision. Yeah, don't buy it.
Doesn't get easier than that.
Otherwise it will ruin the memory of Panzer Dragoon and Space Harrier. Buy Rez instead. In fact, the Panzer Dragoon remake isn't that bad. Get that.
There you go.
Anyway, moving on, Stu.
Yes.
We need a planet cleanser. Planet cleanser? A palette cleanser.
Oh,
I'm not Thanos.
We've just found the new the title for the episode there.
Planet
definitely.
cleanser, yeah. Jesus Christ, my brain. Anyway, American Arcadia, which was billed as Truman Show the game. And you know what? It's Truman Show the game, but with like more interesting writing. It's fantastic.
Wow.
Basically, you've seen the Truman Show or heard of the Truman Show. I'm going to assume everyone's at least heard of the Truman Show.
Yeah.
If you haven't, go watch it. It's brilliant. One of Jim Carrey's best performances, apart from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yep.
He's actually got a lot of good dramatic performances for the COVID denying, vaccine denying freak that he is these days. Anyway, great actor.
Yep.
American Arcadia is basically if someone decided to expand or make a sequel or just like really be influenced by the Truman Show. So basically you play, there's two parts to the game. There's this 2D platforming style section and then there's this 3D section to it. And the 2D section is the character that would be your Truman, let's say, where they set up this place called American Arcadia, which is in a giant big dome in the middle of like nowhere, America, California. I think they said it's set, one of the big deserty type places. Anyway, you play as Trevor Hills, and you kind of find yourself like everyone in this world, not just you. Everyone in this world is part of this giant TV scenario piece. So everyone's born there. It's kind of kept in perpetual 70s, like the look and everything is there. It's got technology though, like modern technology, but it's all kept in the 70s to give it this aesthetic for people to watch on TV. And it's like it was the most popular show or whatever it was in America, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. But ratings are going down. And if the people in Arcadia aren't bringing the numbers in or just aren't interested, then they get to win a grand prize trip. And it turns out that grand prize trip is actually they're exterminated. But you're totally unaware of this as Trevor, because you live in this world Truman-esque. Now, as we all know, the Truman Show, if you haven't seen it, it's a spoiler, but it's like 25 years old now.
Yeah, gotta be, hasn't it? Yeah.
98,
98 or something, yeah.
So he then gets like some messages and stuff start happening. He's like, oh, what's going on? And slowly becomes, I'm sorry to use the word, woke to the world around him. And it turns out, and then this is where that's all the 2D part. Then you go to 3D part, and you're someone who's a technical officer or technical type person on the show, and you're trying to feed information to him. And you want to help him escape. And reasons, everything, twists, turns, etc., come later down the line. But it all just goes from there. So as the person operating him, it's a 3D environment, and you have to go and do bits in first person. that like help him, but you also control the cameras to open doors or help him get by certain situations where he needs to sneak through. And as Trevor, you're just walking literally left to right, with some variants to that. Sometimes running, sometimes walking, sometimes climbing, etc., etc. Escaping people, and that's all on a 2D plane. Melds the two things together wonderfully. The story is so engaging. The character work is absolutely stunning. The visuals are stunning. The world is just... It's a beautiful world, but definitely foreboding. And again, we are so spoilt at the back end of this year with indies. It's from Raw Fury, who are an indie publisher, unlike Dave the Diver. But that is not an indie. This is very much an indie. It's just, I'm just absolutely enamoured with this game. And I honestly think that had this released 4 months ago, this would be in the conversation for Indie of the Year. One of the Indies of the Year. Maybe not winning it, but it'd be in the conversation. It is so, so good. And what I love is the amount of Easter eggs that are in this as well. So I won't ruin anything as such, but if you've seen The Truman Show, very early on in this game and you play it, there's a moment where they've got this protocol for like if people try and escape, right? And it's called the Burbank Protocol, which is genius because it's Truman Burbank.
Oh, right.
In
I
The
haven't
Truman
seen
Show.
it for 20 years. Like,
yeah, I know.
Fair play.
You don't retain useless information like someone like me does. But it done it, and ultimately, that is a really cool little Easter egg for people who really like The Truman Show and understand The Truman Show. That's brilliant. And it's like there's loads of little mini Easter eggs in there that are very subtle. It's like they really know what they're doing, and it's very much almost Bioshock-esque. Like they're trying in a way that the world they're trying to create is very much though that of like I forget the guy's name in Bioshock now, where they're trying to create this perfect like utopian world. But it's just brilliant. And like the person who sets it up is like the Walton Foundation. It's like from the Walton family, and they set up like so this cartoon that he started off with back in the 30s, and then went on to be this major conglomerate with movies. Now you might hear something that sounds similar. The Walton Company, Walton, with a cartoon that started it all off. You know, again, little nods. I'm talking about Walt Disney, by the way, the Walt Disney Company, just in case you didn't realise. And there's just loads of it there, and it's just oh my god, I am really enjoying this. It's very linear. There's no like choices matter or anything like that. It's got a story to tell. You are gonna basically be along for the ride in that story, and it plays into because it's the actual fear now. Is it the Truman condition or whatever it's called, where people think they are in like simulation or they're all being watched? It really plays into that fear so well. I just brings it all together brilliantly. As I said, looks beautiful, acted beautifully, written really, really well. Highly recommended. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. And it's £2.24 cheaper than AirTwister. So
by a factor of 10.
If you've got 20 quid spare, get this.
So yeah. I'm going to ask you a question completely unrelated to this now. You've said a couple of times that you don't consider Dave the Diver an indie game, but I don't understand, because looking it up, it's by somebody called Mint Rocket, who are both developer and publisher, and they look like a small outfit to me.
Right, so Dave the Diver is by like Mint Rocket, and they are now down as the publisher. Now, but the issue with Dave the Diver is their backing is from a multi-billion-dollar, I want to say, it's an Asian conglomerate. And yeah, they're not fully Nexon. Sorry, that's who's behind it, Nexon.
Oh, right, okay. So it's like, yeah, it's by stealth that it's somebody big. Gotcha.
Yes.
That's
sorry,
nice.
yes, because No, and it's basically set to take all the indie awards this year
okay.
because of where it's been put in, and a lot of obviously the corporate shills, Jeff Keighley shows, obviously they don't care, and allowing it to happen. That's it.
Right.
Korean, States, Taiwan, Thailand, multi-conglomerate worth about $200 billion. So,
So
indie.
it's
In the truest sense.
right. So I'm gonna pirate that without any worries. Then that's fine. Good.
Brilliant game.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be honest about what it is. But yeah, American Arcadia. If you just want something that's honestly stunning, I absolutely adore it. It's so good. The visual style. I love the visual style as well. It's like low poly but high quality low poly. I love that style. And I just get it, play it. It's better than anything else that I've played this week.
Oh, that's really cool.
Or play AirTwister, your choice.
No, that's not your choice. I mandate that you're not allowed to play that. So there you go.
If we ever get into power over the Tories, that's going to be the first thing we put in. We mandate that no one is legally allowed to play AirTwister.
I think what you should do is put your money towards that Like a Dragon Gaiden, which has all of those arcade games in it, that many of which are some of which are Yu Suzuki. Buy that instead and play those games.
Yes, and I bet you I'm going to have a bit of a live Google search. If I have to do Space Harrier, Yakuza, buy Yakuza 0, and you can play Space Harrier in that.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
Yakuza 0 on Steam at the moment is currently... It's $15.99, so you can buy Yakuza 0 for less money than AirTwister.
Yeah.
Get through about an hour's worth of story, head straight to the arcade, and play Space Harrier.
There you go.
There you go.
Far
and
better.
you still get a really, 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 really good game alongside it that's got like 40 odd hours of just amazing storytelling. So, and a bunch of other arcade games who I can't be asked to go and find and list. But you get Space Harrier, Yakuza 0, a bunch of other Sega classics, load of other little fun mini games such as Mahjong and whatever, dancing and karaoke for £3 less than you could get AirTwister. It's just a goddamn bad game.
Yeah.
I'm never getting anything from that publisher again.
Well, it's worth it.
But well done, Sonic 4. You are probably no longer the worst game I've ever played.
It's the worst game I've played of the modern era, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dreadful.
It's poor.
It's really bad.
It's so bad.
It's really bad. So, yeah. AirTwister, if you hate somebody, there you go. There's your secret saying.
If you hate yourself,
but no, you
it.
can't hate anyone that much. I probably hate Farage less. No, I don't hate Farage less than that guy. I don't hate anyone. I don't like the word hate, but it's a really bad game. It's a really bad game. So, there you go.
Yep.
Buy American Arcadia.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
Cool. Yeah, so, I really couldn't keep the anger down this week because, oh my God, so many terrible things. I think, it's like sometimes it's too much to be like really furious about stuff. And sometimes it's not. And I think, it's kind of righteous fury. Most of it is generated by the government. It's the slide into fascism. Even like frustration at not being able to like protest as easily because I'm quite far away from places where they have protests, and combined with like work from my wife and stuff, it's just really, really annoyed me this week. So I do apologise for being quite so.
I like the idea. So, Stu, why don't you like AirTwister? It's the government.
Yeah, I blame them for everything. But
I kind of enjoyed giving a game a kick in today.
Yeah, it's well deserved. It's not, yeah. But anyway, that's it for this week. As usual, follow us on all the socials, join us on Discord to chat, make sure you check out the website for lots of extra content, and until next week, stay safe and stay sane.